to talk about why doing well at your job or executing your job really well has stopped being good enough for you to get promoted, to get recognition, to really step into that next senior leadership role. All right, welcome. If you are here for the first time, I am Kim Heimakers, and I am a certified executive coach and leadership advisor with over 20 plus years of leadership experience inside the corporate world. And I have helped over 100 plus women over the last 5 years throughout my executive coaching. So I have been in your shoes before, and I am here to answer the questions that you might not want to Google or even ask your boss. So let's dig into today's topic, because this one is such an important one that I have really found myself in this trap as well. And I know almost every senior woman leader that I work with finds themselves in this trap when we start working together. And that is often this consideration of like, okay, listen, I am doing my job really well. I'm taking on extra projects. And still, when it comes to the point of my performance review, or even, like your periodic conversations with your leaders, it's like, well, you're not quite ready yet, or we don't see you as leadership experience. And you're stuck with going, I've been delivering and executing on all the projects that matter. I've met all my KPIs. How is it that I am still not being seen as leadership material or ready for that next step? Now, this today is especially for you if you're a woman in leadership, in corporate leadership, especially if you're also in a more male-dominated environment, which still a majority of us women are. And you are always the person that everyone relies on. So if you are the one that people come to, because I've had one of my clients, she's like, yeah, but my senior leaders all know who I am. My executive team knows who I am. Anytime there's an issue, they come and they know to find me. I'm like, oh, yes. Wow. When you are the person that when shit hits the fan, everyone knows to find you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they know you well enough that they're wanting to promote you and they want to recognize you. But they know you as the person who gets things done, the person that can be relied upon to execute it. And that may be the biggest obstacle between you and that next promotion and stepping into that next leadership role. So, and that is also partly why when promotions are happening and you're looking around going like, okay, well, did you hear about Bob? Bob got promoted. I'm like, I trained him and he got promoted over into a job ahead of me. I've got way more experience and capabilities, but how is it that I'm never the one that's being talked about? So today's where I wanted to dig into this. So you might have found yourself that you are working harder. I've already explained this, right? This is not the problem. Isn't that you're not working hard enough. That is actually just contributing more and more to the fact that you're not being seen. It's also not because you're not taking on enough work. It's not because you've been sitting here going like, okay, well, if I speak up louder and more often, if I do more the work that I feel more so that I would come across and feel more confident. But guess what? None of that is the key problem in this. What is the problem is that when you're delivering your results, as you're executing everything, how you talk about it is going to influence how other people see you and perceive you in terms of what your experience, your capabilities, and what you bring to the table. Now, research has already shown that men get hired more often the majority men get hired for I've lost the word here. The possibilities that they prevent, the potential that they have. Whereas women get hired for what they've shown that they could do. And I get it. It's a very annoying double standard. And unfortunately, we still have to work with that. So I'm not against let's change that system, but let's address this problem first. So when it comes to your work being good enough, we need to also talk, the way we talk about it becomes important. So no, this does not mean that we have to speak up more or speak up louder, because I have heard that advice too. It's like, well, you just talk louder and you talk more often, then people are going to see you. Well, that doesn't really suit every single person and their personality type and their character. So what we need to do is, when you do speak up, that those that make decisions, so your executive leadership, your senior leadership, decide fast, or they're like, oh, okay, well, she is really becoming, she has that potential for leadership. She's showing leadership, versus, oh, she's really great, we can rely on her to get things done. So I had a client of mine, for example, who was walking into a new cross-functional initiative. She had loads of experience. Now, this is a person that was at the top of her industry in terms of the results that she was delivering. And before we started working together, she's like, people don't listen to me. My leaders don't see me. I was like, I can deliver these amazing, huge milestone projects for the company, and yet I'm still not talked about. So, and people still will question and doubt me about everything that I've done. So even though I've done all the work, I've taken on more projects, bigger projects, etc., I still constantly have to justify my expertise, why people should listen to me, my credibility, my authority, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. When we started to also position how she talks about her work in a different way, then what happened was the change was almost immediate. So rather than talking about, here's the activities that I did and the tasks that I completed, which I find so often is exactly what women are doing, is we started positioning at the level that she was working at and communicating in such a way. Now, if you're going like, okay, what do you mean about levels? So here's what I do within my LeadHERship Accelerator, within my programs. I use what I call the 5 levels of career value. Now, the very bottom level, basic level, is the individual contributor level. Now, this is the level at where we all start. This is where we start in our organizations. We start there and we are responsible for a specific task. Regardless of where you start, you had to, it was delivering reports, data entry, it was, making X amount of sales. So we had an individual contributor. We weren't responsible for the processes, etc. But this is the problem. Most of the time, the women that I work with, we get stuck talking about what we have done in terms of tasks, to-dos, what we've executed. What we forget is to, as we grow in the organization, is to also grow in our communication and how we talk about what we're doing and the value that we're bringing to the organization. So the other levels, as we go up, and I'm not going to go into detail of the levels, but the second level is a team activator level, where you start either owning a process, managing a team, and you're starting that journey of getting results through other people. As we continue to grow, what you are going to see is you start to grow. The third level is the influencer level. Now, the influencer level has we need to be showing and showcasing the strategic impact and being part of the decision making. The fourth level is about relationships. Have you built the relationships, and do you have a high value network that you were able to connect together in order to achieve even greater results? And the fifth level, the highest level, is what I call the visionary level of value. And that is oftentimes where, can you picture what is going to happen in your industry for the next 5 to 10 years, but also communicate it in such a way. And no, being a visionary does not mean you have to be a CEO of an organization. You could be a visionary and you can communicate as a visionary, even if you're a manager or director or senior VP. The question is, can you communicate vision in such a way? Now, as I describe those 5 levels of value, what I have found so often is that 95% of women, we get stuck at levels 1 and 2. So we stay in the individual contributor, the implementer level, which is where we're talking about This is just like the tasks that I'm doing. We don't really talk about results necessarily. And we show some leadership in like, hey, I got my team to perform this and this and this, but yet your work that you're at already when you're in that senior managers, directors level is going to be much more at relationship levels and really honestly up to the top part of visionary. So when you keep talking in the way of like, hey, this is the actions I did, these are the activities I set out, this is the to-dos I completed, what you keep communicating to everyone around you is unfortunately, well, she's a great executor, but she's just not really ready for leadership yet. So when you go into your next leadership meeting, I want you to consider, are you being like a journalist, a reporter of like just essentially describing what has happened? Or will you step into becoming more that visionary and actually talk about what you've achieved, the results, and frame it with the strategic implications? So are you framing the strategic implication? I'm going to get a tongue twister on this one. Are you framing the strategic implications and the value you have delivered in such a way that it really speaks to what your executive leaders and your senior leaders are looking for? And again, this is not about more confidence. I am not talking about you have to talk any louder, but what I am talking about is the words you are using. Are they communicating the value that you're delivering in such a way that your leaders can understand it, they hear it, and they can process it so that it matches what they are looking for when they're looking for their next leaders to promote? Now, what changes when you start to shift how you communicate and you start to communicate at the higher levels of value? Again, I've just talked about there's like 5 levels of career value, which I just briefly shared. Well, what changes is, and what I've seen for each and every one of my clients is they're getting pulled into their conversations much earlier. They're getting pulled into conversations and decisions that are happening before the decision is made, not afterwards, because we all understand that frustration. You get pulled in after, it's like, oh, well, we decided this. And you're like, oh my God, like, did you consider this risk and that risk? And well, this is like, this piece of this is impossible because we need to have X, Y, and Z. But you're not being asked about the decision. You're just simply asked to execute the decision. So being involved before that decision gets made and you actually getting to share what your insights are is so important, and happens when you start communicating in such a way that your leaders can see it, understand it, and can immediately translate it for themselves. You're also going to see that your ideas that you've been bringing up are going to stop being credited to somebody else. I mean, I don't know about you, but there's nothing more irritating than having brought up an idea in a meeting and kind of being dismissed or not even like being talked over, and then seeing one of my colleagues, and unfortunately, guys, like oftentimes it is one of my male colleagues that would go and say like, oh, well, how about this and this idea, which is exactly what I had said 5 minutes earlier, but no one had reacted to it. And then it was the best thing since sliced bread. So we can stop with that. The performance reviews that you're going to be having, those conversations, are going to reflect actual contribution. I know one of the women that I spoke to about a year ago, and she was sharing with me, she's like, I don't understand what happened. Like, I went into my performance review and I had delivered all my results. I had done all of this extra work and I had even brought in more clients, and I got into the performance review and I was being put on a PIP, like a performance improvement plan, because my boss is just like, well, we don't know what you're doing. We don't see, you're not bringing value in. So one of the things that we had to work on is she had this really firm thought of like, well, if I do enough, if I work good, if I'm good enough at my job, it's going to be enough. And it wasn't, because people didn't know. So then what happens is the promotions start moving. You're going to get more opportunities, whether they're internally or externally. So I don't want you in this to take this way like you have to change how you lead, but it is about communicating your strategic value and the work that you deliver rather than keeping it in the operational language you have been used to. Let's up level this, let's upgrade this so that you can start getting that recognition, the credibility, and the authority that you've worked your butt off to already achieve. But rather than working twice as hard again to try and get to that next level, let's reduce the workload for yourself by increasing how you communicate and improving how you communicate with your leaders and with your organization so that they can see exactly what the value is and all of the impact that you are making and making possible within your organization. Now, if you want to go into this in a deeper level, one of the really great first steps I have is a new course and training, which I call Speak at the Level You Lead, which is going to take you through those 5 levels of value. It is also going to show you exactly how to communicate your work, what you're completing at each of those different levels of value so that you can start gaining that recognition. Now, this course is 197 euros, so it's a really great first step for you. If you want to get access to that and you want the details, then comment speak, and I'm going to send that over to you. And here's the best part. For those of you that decide to enroll before the middle of June, you're also going to get one group call with me, and I'm going to walk through with you specifically how can you apply this directly into your work based off of the examples that you come with, and how do you take what you're learning and what you've discovered inside the Speak at the Level You Lead directly into your work. Now, if you're going to ask me like, oh, Kim, but I could just throw it into ChatGPT and I can figure that one out. Here's my problem with that. Yes, AI is fantastic. What AI doesn't help you do is, unfortunately, doesn't show up in your meeting with you at the moment that you need to speak. So what is important here is not just like I can just pop it in with a prompt in ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, whichever one you're using. I can use my AI for that. What you find yourself is that you get stuck because you don't remember what you have to say. And then all the nerves are firing, going, oh God, and am I going to say it right? Am I not going to say it right? Whereas what we do is we lay the foundation with this course in order to ensure that you can start really layering this into the way that you speak, not just in meetings, but anytime you happen to be in the elevator with another executive leader, and you can talk about your work, your results, your team in such a way that makes an impression, that makes an impact, and changes how people view you. So if you want to grab that is comment the word speak or DM me the word speak, and I will send the link over to you. Now, the other way I can help is inside the LeadHERship Accelerator. Now, I am looking for 3 women specifically to help this month. We've got 6 weeks left before the summer. That is plenty of time in order to raise and boost your profile, but also to make sure that you're positioned in order to take advantage of the new opportunities that are going to likely open up over the summer, but most likely even in the beginning of the fall. And if you are going to say like, oh, I'll do this after my summer holidays, guess what? You will be too late at that moment in time. So if you're interested in that, comment the word June, and I will start a conversation. And I will honestly tell you if this is a great fit or this just is not working for you. All right. So if you've got any questions on this topic, just to summarize again, why being good enough at your job just has stopped working in order to get promotions, to get credibility, to get the recognition. Again, it is not about working harder. It is all about how do you communicate the value of what you are bringing and what you're doing to your organization, to your leaders. It is also about communicating the impact and also the way you're thinking that is important for people to understand and to see. Because oftentimes you have mitigated risks. You have decided on a strategy that is really powerful, but they don't understand the decision-making process that went into it. And all they see is like, hey, yeah, we gave her a problem. She fixed it. Great, thank you. And you become the glorified crisis manager instead of the strategic leader that you want to be. Now, if you've got any questions, again, drop them in the comments. I'd love to answer them, or DM me your questions. Happy to answer them there as well. And of course, you can grab the Speak at the Level You Lead training. Just comment the word speak or DM me the word speak, and I'll send you the link to that one. Or if you really want to get that personalized support and really get big results in the next 6 weeks, then comment the word June and let's start that conversation together. I wish you all a great day. And remember, it is about how you communicate. To what level are you communicating at? Are you stuck at the implementation level where you're talking about tasks and here's what I did, versus are you talking at a visionary level where you are showcasing how your work and your results are leading to business outcomes, are changing the market, and are making a huge impact and delivering the value that your organization has not yet been able to link to you directly. All right. Love to hear from you, and we'll talk again soon.